In this tutorial, I'm gonna talk about the splash screen, the primary menu, the toolbar and how to hide it, the secondary menu, the outliner, and finally the properties tab. Let's begin. Okay, for a start, let's talk about this middle screen. This middle screen is called splash screen, and as you can see, there are two columns in a splash screen. The first column is new files, and every time you want to start fresh, you can start with one of these. These are the startup scenes that Blender provides for user. For example, if you want to do general task, you can start with general. If you want to do 2D animation, you can start 2D animation and sculpting and VFX and video editing. The next column is recent files. If you don't see the recent files column, it's because you start the Blender for the first time. But if you start working and practice and save files in Blender, you're gonna see the names of your files in here. These are ordered by the last time you opened these files. For example, if I open this Minariel V2, you can see that this is the last file that I opened in Blender. For a start, you can click on general or you can click on outside the splash screen anywhere you want. For example, I can click here and we can enter Blender. This 3D scene is called 3D viewport, and all your lights, object and cameras are gonna be put in 3D viewport. 3D viewport is a 3D virtual scene that you place all your object or your light in the scene and then use a camera to make a picture out of all of them. So let's first talk about the Blender menus. From the top left, we have a primary menu, and primary menu consists of file, edit, render, window, and help. In file, we have a new option, and this is exactly like new scenes that we talk about in splash screen. We use open for opening a saved scene anywhere in our hard drive. We can use open recent for opening the last 20 scenes that we opened with Blender. Recovery is for the times that Blender crash. Every 2 minutes, Blender saves your works in an autosave files. So on clicking in autosave, you can open the autosave files in Blender. Save is for saving your files. Save as is for saving your file with different names. And the other options is advanced topic, so we're not gonna talking about it yet. Before we talk about edit and undo or redo, let's first move the object a couple of times. I move the cube front, then I move it right, then move it up, rotate it a little, and then scale it. Okay, so undo is about moving back one step about what you're doing. For example, if I click on undo once, you can see that the size of the cube back to the previous one. Okay, let's see. And as you can see, the size back to the previous size. And if I undo again, the rotation is gonna back to the normal rotation. And redo is for moving forward. After you use undo, you can use the redo to move forward. For example, if I click on redo, I can rotate the object again, and if I click redo again, I can scale the object again. Undo history is for backing to your previous works by the name. For example, I move 3 times, I move the object 3 times, then rotate it and then resize it. I can click on any one of them, for example the second move, and the position of the object is back to the second move that I done. There are other options, but the most important option is preference, and we're gonna talk about the preference on video 8 or 9. I'm not exactly sure what the numbers gonna be, but it's gonna be around 8 or 9. Render is for seeing the last result of your scene. For example, you create a beautiful scene, you put your lights in the scene, you put your camera, and you're gonna see the final picture from your camera. And we use render for seeing the result of all your works. Window is for controlling the Blender window. For example, you can see the window taskbar on the bottom. If I click on toggle window full screen, you can see the Windows taskbar is gone, and you can make it back by clicking again on toggle window full screen. Help is for these are the links that connect to the Blender official sites, and I'm not gonna use it anytime in the future, but you can click on any of them to go to the, for example, the tutorial sites of the Blender. From the left, you have the tools bar. Tools bar are all the tools that is available to you. For example, I can use this annotate tools for writing in my scenes, or I can use the move tools and clicking on the object to move back my cube to the center point, or any other places. We're gonna talk about these tools later, but this is the tools bar for now. Under the primary menu, we have also a secondary menu. Secondary menu is for doing the thing that you're gonna do in 3D viewport. For example, if you'd like to hide this tools bar, you can click on view and click on toolbar to hiding the toolbar, or you can click on again to back the toolbar. And there are also other options that we're not going to talking about it for now. Select is for different kind of selection depending on the task you want to do. So we're going to talking about this later. And add is for adding a new object to the scene. For example, from the mesh I can add a UV sphere to the scene. And object is, as you can see, it's a long menu, and these are all the things that you can do to your object. For example, like the move tool, I can click from here and move my sphere any place I want to put it. On the right, you have also outliner. Outliner is for all the objects, camera, for example, as you can see, this is camera, object, and light that you have in your 3D scenes. And you can group your object, you can separate them. For example, if I want to separate my light and camera from the other ones, I can click right and new collections and drag these two under my collection too. You can also do many other things, but for now, this is what we can do in outliner. Under the outliner, you have also the properties tab. The properties tab is all the properties that all your objects, all your tools and scenes can have. For example, I can click on the first icon, and this is the tool setting of all my tools. And if I click on any one of these tools, you can see the menu sometimes change. The next one is, for example, if it's for the properties of render. The next one is for properties the scene, and this one is important to us, and this is the data properties of our object. For example, every object in the scene has a location and rotation, and these are the values of my object, this sphere. And if I click, look at here, the location data, if I click on the cube, you can see the location of X and Y is gonna change because the cube is not at the center of our 3D viewport. And every time this is 0, it means that our object is at the center of the 3D. In the next video, we're gonna talking about how to navigate in Blender scenes. And this was the first step of learning Blender. The first couple of videos are gonna be theoretical because for you to learn faster, I first need to build a foundation of what is 3D object. But after that, I promise you every other videos are gonna be practical. So if this video was helpful to you, you can subscribe or like. See you on the next video.